Hi guys, my name's Seb Tudor, I'm the man on the Silver Mountain and welcome back to Conan Exiles. Now today, I've decided that right here, right outside what seems to be the entrance to possibly the next area, possibly the new dungeon, I've decided that just out the front here is going to be where we put our next purge-proof base, because if this is the way through to some kind of volcanic region, which it does seem like there's something back there and that these have just been put in place to get in the way, the same way rocks and the curse wall had been for when we couldn't quite get up into the frozen north, I figure why not have a substantial fortification just in this big open space out front here. Yeah, like why not? Why wouldn't we do that? Considering that I said I wanted to build more in the way of like a purge-proof environment that was inland, that wasn't just sat in water. That's kind of the easy choice so far. And also, I said I wanted to try some different shapes and different things that I could make, rather than just towers and kind of very uniform, straightforward keeps. Maybe do some more asymmetrical stuff, more circular stuff, things like that. That's where I kind of wanted to go with what I wanted to do next. And so, this large area that we've got here, I think is probably a nice place to start. Now, whilst I'm doing this, I wanted to talk about some of the stuff that was in the most recent Devstream. The guys, it was Jens Eric who came. I believe that's his name. I believe I haven't butchered it this time. They're the community manager for Conan Exiles, who came back and gave us kind of an update of what's going on with the game and what they're working on. Now, I pay attention to the community letters anyway, because it gives me ideas for videos. It gives me interesting stuff to consider for the next stuff that I want to do. And kind of there we go. And so as a result, I was interested to talk to you guys about the stuff that they've been talking about most recently. Let's go here. There we go. Because the stuff that they've been discussing more recently has been, again, kind of interesting to say the least. Because we've got the kind of interesting bits and pieces to do with the new the new biome and playfield stuff that they've been mentioning, but we've not really had much else to go on. I can't see which way that's. Yeah, that was the right direction. We've not really had much else from them in a fair while, and so now that they've come back and like one of the things that they've just straight out come out and said is that one of the next things that they're looking at, thrall inventories. Good God, how long have I waited for them to get onto thrall inventories? I have been looking forward to this for a long time, because I am. Whilst my experience with thralls has been something of a problematic one, should we say? Why won't you latch onto this edge here? There we go. Considering that I still haven't got back round to recruiting a kind of collection of thralls again for my bases down south, where all of the freestanding thralls seem to have just disappeared. The thing that kind of stands out to me is that, with that in mind, the stuff that they're adding in regards to kind of thralls being made a more substantial system, You had mention of them adding in more of like a recruitment system, so you can recruit your thralls for raiding parties to come with you. You know, I feel like this is going to be a... That was more explosive than I thought it was going to be. I feel like it's going to be a kind of substantial change to some of the things in the game. You know, especially considering that it means then that we can use thralls for all manner of things that we wouldn't have been able to before. Least of which being, you know, having inventories means that we can store stuff on them. You know, if you have a favorite thrall and you've got something that you want to hide, something that you want to use, and you don't want it to go walkies, sticking it on a thrall in their inventory may be a new means by which to protect your stuff, which isn't a bad thing by any means. But then the other thing that kind of stands out to me in regards to thrall inventories is that upgrading thralls now won't be, you know, it won't be a case of I need to go and recruit a whole load of additional thralls for kind of the next thing that I'm doing. Yeah, it'll be a case of I've got this new job that thralls are required for, and if they require new equipment, then I'm just going to make the new equipment. You know, that's all it'll be. It'll be a very easy, kind of straightforward approach to just improving the thralls that you're already using. You know, we won't have to worry about the potential issues in kind of randomly kind of changing out kind of our thralls equipment or anything like that, because it will be manageable. It won't be a case of, oh well, my thralls are kind of hopelessly defenseless as soon as someone gets within 5 feet of them. It'll be much more a case of, well, I can outfit my thralls to be, you know, as well defended and well prepared to look after my base and my equipment as I would like, and that's going to be huge. You know, again, I've mentioned fielding armies of thralls for various bits and pieces in the past. You know, including testing my own purge-proof bases, which, you know, didn't go too well last time, considering that even, you know, when I spawned stuff in, there was just nothing there for them to interact with. But it's an interesting set of things for us to take a look at as and when they get introduced, because, you know, whether we can change the role of a character of a thrall entirely just by throwing some different equipment in their direction is going to be interesting. Now, again, I realise that it may very well be interesting to me and no one else, but I'd like to think that there's a reason why these are the most viewed videos on the channel now. So, why aren't you... No, go... Yep, there we go. And so, you know, with that stuff in mind, the other stuff that they were talking about that was being discussed was new building pieces, especially. Where did my chests of stuff go? Oh, here they are. And so with the idea of having more to mess around with, more substantial amounts to use in regards to different shapes and different functions, and the discussion of condensing kind of very similar stuff down into the same feat to give us more feat points to play with, or more recipe points to play with. You know, about damn time is kind of what I have to say to that. But at the same time, it's like, yes, this is this is good. I'm not gonna start criticizing and whatever else just yet, you know. But there was mention of whether or not we'd get things like come on, things like all medium armors being accessible from one trait, or whether or not that would end up being kind of medium armors being it only being like one type of medium armor being applied, but instead of having to unlock the different parts of the armor, that we would still actually get kind of this very solid kind of one piece to it. This has gone a tad wonky, so that's it closes off the gap. That's fine. Yeah. Let's get rid of that. Right. But you know, it's going to be an interesting case of kind of seeing how the new building pieces work. Now, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to start putting down like the boundaries for the area that I want to work on the next purge-proof base in just in here, because with the new building pieces coming, I'm like, I will want to use those. I'm going to use those because they've got corner pieces for roofs, so that you can build kind of very pyramidal, kind of uniform shapes and stuff like that. So I'm definitely looking forward to those things. But then other comments that were made in regards to things like the combat system that they've mentioned that they're prototyping and stuff like that. Now that's the kind of thing that actually worries me a little bit, because some of the prototyping stuff that they've talked about sounds very almost Dark Souls like. And not to say that the combat system in Dark Souls is a bad system or anything, but the thing that stands out to me about that system is that, you know, it's kind of a system that doesn't, it's not just unforgiving, it's kind of built with a very solid purpose in mind in regards to the world and the things that it's set in. It's not necessarily the most kind of built towards realism and the kind of the solidarity of the system as much as it is towards just brutality almost, which, you know, there's a time and a place, absolutely, but like I've actually quite enjoyed the means by which the combat system's been working in this game at the moment anyway. And so the idea of having it suddenly become very Dark Souls like with kind of elements of kind of lock-ons and other such things like that doesn't sit all that well with me personally. You know, it's a case of I'd much prefer to see if people are having trouble aiming at enemies and stuff, maybe provide weapons that have much wider arcs for people to use. Yeah? Because we've already got very wide arcs on the swords that come in kind of almost a three-quarter of circle swipe at someone. So I'm already thinking we've got a lot for people who are having difficulty aiming, hitting people, and all the rest of it. We've got the dodges and things like that. The things that stand out to me are the bits and pieces for kind of animation cancelling for dodging and things like that, and animation cancelling for feinting, and all that kind of thing. You know, those are my more substantial concerns, because at the moment I just to demonstrate, let me just grab a sword quickly. Star metal hatchet will do. So like if I wield this, then if I was going in with a the hatchet isn't going to count as a attacking weapon in this case. There's I don't know what kind of sword this is. It might be a great sword, but if so, it doesn't matter because it's fine. Just grab that out. No, not that. That. Oh no, it's still a single sword. But so like, if I go in with a charge up, they've kind of made sure that it has that time limit on it, so you can't just hold it indefinitely and then eventually swing when you feel like it. But like going from that to like a proper swing, like there's like I'm charging, and then if I want to kind of cancel out of that and move into faster swings, there's that delay, that judder, where it's not entirely sure what I'm doing. And like seeing that go would be great. You know, it would make for much more kind of fluid, kind of fluid and kind of straightforward kind of combat. So that kind of thing, fair enough. I realised that some of the ideas for things like character lock-ons and stuff like that is probably also coming out of the Xbox release of the game, and the aim that they have to eventually release for PlayStation. But like it worries me a little bit that we'll see a move in that direction for the combat in this game, which again may very well help to one degree or another, but also removes a lot of, to my mind anyway, removes a lot of what they've kind of been talking about so far in regards to combat, with kind of it being quick and brutal and efficient and effective, and like if you can roll round behind someone and get the drop on them, then you know, good job, you've earned yourself an advantage. You know, it's that kind of combat system that I like. Like if they added in maybe more variety for comboing your kind of capacity to strike together. You know, so going from kind of light attacks into a heavy attack as a more standardized thing, then I wouldn't say that would be a bad thing. But for the most part, the very direction focused, kind of dodge focused combat that we've got already, and also like making sure that you're using the right tool for the job. Yeah, especially for large fights, I can imagine that things turn into a bit of a skirmish, but when it comes to, I don't know, an archer, say, who's being set upon by people with heavy weapons to do lots of damage, to try and knock them down and stuff like that, you know, are they also carrying a shield to stagger those people, and a polearm or a javelin of some sort, so they can poke at those people from range without having to put themselves at risk, considering they're probably not wearing particularly heavy armor if they're looking more for speed and maneuverability to get to where they need to be to shoot at range. You know, it's an interesting set of things, and it's more that I want to take a look at, because the other thing, as when we were taking a look at the combat changes for us, and we were taking a look at the kind of interesting elements of whether or not we could do bits and pieces, whether or not we would be able to run rings around the enemies and things like that. The thing that kind of stood out to me, like at the time, at that point, was that also we had this interesting moment of the NPCs can do stuff that we can't anymore. And that's not necessarily a problem, But at the same time, it is kind of a case of, well, if they can do it, why can't I? Yeah? And I feel like when that kind of thing is said, it's very understandably said. Oh, we've already run out again. Because, you know, we're the player character, we're human, so on and so forth, and they've talked about further AI additions and things like that that are still to come, which I'm very much looking forward to. But again, it's the thing that concerns me a little bit, not a lot. Like I of all the developers, I have talked about at one point or another, kind of on this channel, in regards to the games that they make and the things that they do and my concerns around them, because I really enjoy these games and so I don't want them to do poorly. You know, it's there you go. It's a case of, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. But it's a case of I feel like I can trust Funcom to, for the most part, do a good job of things. But as I've also said of developers when we've been having these conversations about these various games, it's sometimes they can be a little bit too close to their own product to see the limitations and kind of where things are going wrong. You know, which is a thing straight out of kind of coaching. You know, you are usually too close to your own problems, and so being too close to those problems really leaves you in the lurch when you're looking for a solution. You know, which is why coaches are there to sit down with you and make sense of your issues, as it were. But again, it's kind of a case of the combat elements between thralls and players. You don't necessarily want the thralls to be ridiculously overpowered, but you want them to be able to be capable. Yeah? And so, you know, it's kind of a concern for me when I'm looking at this stuff. Whilst we're waiting for AI changes and progress, we're also why won't that build there? It's because there's no. There we go. But it's just a slight worry for me that we'll get to a point, and then kind of subsequent to that we'll see a really kind of interesting shift in things. I don't know what I've done here, guys. I've broken something horribly. Is that gonna work? That'll work. Realize at the moment I'm trying to work out shapes, which I've not tried before. So whilst I'm talking, just bear with me whilst I'm actually just messing around and seeing what I can manage. But yeah, it's just going to be interesting to see what actually kind of happens. Hold on, if we've got two, well, let's try one on either side. Because then, can we stick that there? And then, nope, I want you here. Oh, we're going to want to dispose of that as well, and then that there. And if we dispose of that one as well, and hopefully that'll be clear. Or is this too tight? Am I going about this from the wrong side, maybe? I mean, that gives us a nice little entrance there, but it's too much of a turn, isn't it? Maybe I need to go, instead of trying from the center, I need to go from the outside in. That'd probably be an idea, wouldn't it? Yeah. Okay. But like with the player inventories, with the player AI, not player inventories, thrall inventories, with the thrall systems that are going to be put into place eventually, that give us some more control over them, then that's all going to be very interesting. And so much good stuff is coming out of Conan Exiles, out of the Funcom offices. It's hard not for me to be excited, but I think that's where I'm getting worried. Because even though you've got them going, no, look, it's just prototyping, it's just experiments, we're just seeing if something would work or not. Especially recently, where a lot of games that I've really enjoyed are getting kind of turned into a little bit of a mess. It makes me worry that we'll see elements of this game that has done so well and that I have enjoyed so much. I'm worried that maybe some of that will deteriorate. Again, it's in this case, it's not so much complaining or pointing out weaknesses for the sake of wanting it to be better. It's more a case of kind of pointing out my concerns. In fact, okay, we'll leave that there, and we'll just get rid of these. But it's pointing out my concerns and my worries to hopefully just see that they don't come to pass. I was so glad when we had the Frozen North expansion first announced and all that kind of thing. But when we've got more playfields coming, when we've got more stuff coming, and where they've been, where Funcom have been focused on the kind of quality level of the game so far, to make sure that when they introduce more, that it's of the same quality and the same kind of substance. So hold on, how many do we have here? We've got 3 and then 1, so let's do another 3 and then 1. 1, 2. Oh, we need to go up the slope, so that's fine. Let's up please. 1, no, up, there you go. 2, 3, 1. So yeah, we're gonna have to see how things pan out, obviously, which is fine. And as I've said before, I'm glad that we have access to kind of this level of the in development side of things, because without it, there was a time when games wouldn't really do betas, studios wouldn't really do betas or early access or anything like that. And so as a result, you had these very touch and go moments with games, where it would be a case of, we're releasing this game and we think it's going to work, but then it's flopped, or then it hasn't flopped, it's done really well, but for the wrong reasons. It's done so in such a way that it has left the developers going, where we didn't want it to work like this. There we go. That worked quite nice. that worked quite nicely. And so, you know, it's a little concerning when we have games that are, you know, they're being put out to the public for them to have a good dig through, to see how things... oh, I don't know what's happening here. But yeah, it's the case of kind of hoping that everything... In fact, let's just fill out the middle of this with these, shall we? Let's just... Hopefully it'll all pan out properly by doing it this way. There we go. Yeah, it's an interesting set of things that we've got to look forward to, certainly, but I'm going to reserve my full-on excitement until we see more of what's there. Like the thrall inventory system seems perfectly functional. You know, I've got no complaints, no qualms about the way that that's seemingly going to work. My larger concerns, more so than anything else that Funcom have been said that they're working on in regards to Conan Exiles at the moment, is the continued combat changes. And I realise this has been a bit of a rambly video, guys, whilst I've been looking at stuff. But again, kind of, I've got ideas for stuff that I would like to do. You know, and yet some of the things that I would like to do, I feel like I've still got to wait until they're available, because obviously, you know, like everybody else, I want to see the next gods that are going to be released and what they offer. You know, I speculated that maybe we could see Zotli making an appearance in the game as one of the gods, and have it be a more sorcery buff focused kind of god, where the ones that we've got at the moment all seem to be for kind of other purposes. You know, I'm looking forward to the sorcery system. You know, the way it's been described as a very kind of utility focused thing compared to sorcery that we usually get in or like magic and things that we usually get in a lot of other games. You know, I'm interested to see exactly how that pans out, because as much as Conan as a universe is reasonably high fantasy, it's very gritty, it's very solid in the way... Huh, why isn't that working? There we go. But it's like we've got, for the most part, like, I don't recall a lot of very kind of vulgar and explosive and aggressive uses of magic in Conan. I remember it being much more kind of subtle and transmuting of one thing to another, more so than anything else, or summoning ancient powers and things like that. So, you know, I'm interested in seeing more of that in a game, because we've not really had it before. And there are other games that I would like to get my hands on to take a look at that are this kind of survival game. I think it's Dark and Light, I think, is one of them. But they're this kind of survival game, but they have much more of a high fantasy focus on it. And so, you know, that sounds really cool, but at the same time, the lower fantasy kind of grittier level of the kind of situation in this game is something that I'm hoping is reflected in the sorcery system, where, yeah, raising the dead and using them as thralls, that sounds ace, but I don't necessarily want to see, as part of the system, hurling of things like lightning bolts and stuff like that. I'd much prefer curses that will mess with people, screw up crops, kill off animals, all those kind of things. The kind of spilling out and utilization of the dark side of the whole corruption thing that is so prevalent throughout this game, wherever you go into the dark places. Actually having a reason to go. In fact, we won't need the other bits and pieces for the moment. But having the kind of dark element of having a reason rather to go and take advantage of the dark element, to go and sit there and build yourself a base outside of some of the deepest, darkest caves that offer corruption fastest, or the places where we've got kind of interesting questions about the various thralls or the undead that you can use as thralls, where it's a case of, okay, well, if I can go and do this stuff and use these guys as thralls, then does that mean that I can create myself an undead dancer, like a zombie dancer, and the zombie dancer or entertainer will increase my corruption whilst providing me some level of health regeneration, rather than the other way around, where a normal dancer will lower your corruption as you go. It's like I want to see more of that as we go. But as I said, there's still so much that they've said that they want to throw into the game before launch. They've said that it's going to be launching in full at some point at the beginning of next year. And the next stuff that we've got to look at is our thralls being made more useful. Along with more building pieces and stuff like that. Stuff that I'm probably going to take advantage of, because I want to build this place out into more of a fortress than like more of a community-based fortress than the fortresses that we've built so far. Because I want to do that with the tower as well, down in the south. But we've not had the opportunity to do that yet, considering as I put my thralls in place and started developing that kind of thing, they all disappeared. So anyway, I think you've seen me lay out where I'm going to be building now, and you've seen me start to build probably where I'm just going to keep my bed for the time being, so that I don't have something horrible happen to me. But otherwise, guys, tell me what you think about the new stuff. I've been rambling about it for the last little bit. We've got thrall inventories, we've got new creatures, we've got a new play space, we've got a new dungeon that seems to be lava themed, kind of volcano themed, which again seems to be up in there, up over the other side. We've got the new building pieces, we've got the condensing of feats down, so that we're going to have more ability to spend those feat points in a kind of wiser fashion, instead of having to like focus to get everything from a set of armor by spending more and more and more points. And then how excited are you for the other things that are then going to come after this in regards to beast taming and the beast AI updates and the further updates for thralls that will allow us to then kind of interact with them better? What is your thing that you are looking forward to the most? You might have guessed mine's probably the Purge. Otherwise, why would I be doing this and have already done this twice before? But I'm looking forward to so much with this game, and looking forward to seeing it grow, both up until launch and afterwards. So, let me know what your most looked forward to thing is. But otherwise, I realise, again, this has been a bit of a rambly video because we've not had as much to look at. Again, if there's something that you would like me to look at, then please take it, go and drop that down in the comments for me as well. And otherwise, take care, guys, and I'll see you in the video tomorrow. Thank you very much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, then please drop us a like, share this video, and subscribe for more. And I'll see you in the video tomorrow. Take care.